Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theaters, The Call-In, the podcast where you guys ask me questions or leave your comments or whatever you feel about pop culture. And this is something that I've wanted to do for a while, to interact with you guys in more of a vocal way. That's not just through live streams, because sometimes people don't really want to jump on to Discord and have a conversation in front of an audience. But this way, we can still communicate, we can still talk. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what you guys are thinking about what's going on, and then to ask me questions and so on and so forth. So for right now, it's definitely going to be voicemail only. People have asked me whether or not I'm going to take like text message questions or email things. And maybe down the road that will happen. But first and foremost, voicemail is always going to take priority, because I want people to hear from you, and I want to hear from you directly, and I want that to be the focus. So without further ado, I just want to remind you guys, if you want to call into the show yourself, you can always do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call 818-350-3281. That is 818-350-3281. And you can make the call in anytime you want. And, keep it topical, what's going on in the world that week or whatever else might be happening. And we'll definitely go from there. So first up, I had the first two I got when I first pimped this out the other day. We're both about Ghostbusters. So I'm going to play both of these back to back. One's a little bit longer and one's a little bit shorter. And then I'm just going to answer them as a whole, because I feel like they kind of roll in to each other. So first things first, we have Eddie, who wanted to know my some more thoughts of mine about Ghostbusters.
Hey, Matt, this is Eddie Volution, one of your loyal subscribers. Now, I want to just first off and say that I am with you 100% when I say that the Ghostbusters reboot from 2016 was a shitfest. I hated it, and I don't know what drove me to even go see it in theaters. Maybe it was just out of curiosity, kind of like you, and as expected, it was god-awful. But now we're hearing news that Dan Aykroyd's at it again, where he is now teasing that a potential long-awaited third movie that we were supposed to get before the reboot was announced is finally happening, by saying that the script for it is currently being written right now. Now, I don't know if he's just talking about it just to talk about it, or maybe that there's finally something accurate to this information. I want to know, what are your thoughts on this, and do you think that this movie should just be a direct sequel to the 1989's Ghostbusters 2 while disregarding the reboot from 2016? Sort of like what the Terminator movie and RoboCop and the Halloween films are doing right now with their originals and their subsequent sequels. Thank you so much, Matt. I look forward to your answer, and I hope my question pops up on $3 Theater. Have yourself a good day, man. Peace out.
See, that was good. That was a great one, Eddie. Thank you very much. And then, of course, we have another one here that came in literally like a couple hours later. Same topic, but I'm just going to play that real quick.
Hi, Matt. I was wanting to see what you thought about them announcing the new Ghostbusters sequel. Do you think they'll use the movie as a vehicle to push more SJW politics, or are they done with it? Anyway, have a good one.
All right, so both Ghostbusters. Obviously, it's always a good topic to talk about here. And one wanting to know my thoughts about what they might do, what Dan Aykroyd might do, and of course, whether or not Dan Aykroyd would introduce any kind of social justice warrior commentary stuff, the kind of stuff we saw in Paul Feig's version. So first off, let me talk about Dan Aykroyd and what he said. So he had said the other day that he is a script is being written that is going to be Ghostbusters 3, that it would be a continuation with the best of their ability, and they want to make Bill Murray a ghost. And there's been some plot details that have effectively leaked out that have kind of said that this is Oscar has taken over the business, that Venkman is dead, he's a ghost throughout the movie, and that's kind of what we know right now. And if you've ever gone and looked at some of the ideas that Dan Aykroyd had for Ghostbusters 3 back in the early 90s with Harold Ramis, you can kind of see why it didn't happen. But obviously, there's a lot of love in the franchise. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are really, really, really excited for another one. I mean, next year marks the 35th anniversary. So, people want there to be more Ghostbusters, and they want it to be with the original crew, not with the 2016 version. So will Dan Aykroyd interject SJW politics into that? I'm going to sit here and say no. Dan Aykroyd has never really dove into that particular train of thought. You know, I mean, if you go back and you watch the original Ghostbusters, there's literally a scene he wrote into the movie where he gets a blowjob from a ghost, right? I don't believe that he's going to interject any kind of social politics or social commentary into the film. It's not to say it's not going to be there. I mean, it's not to say that just given the turbulent times we live in as it is right now, that something like that may not pop up. But I'm hoping that what he's going to do with it is take it back to its roots, which is very much a blue collar worker comedy, right? It's about a group of exterminators that they're not taking out cockroaches or taking out ghosts, but it's still, the comedy is in the delivery and in the situations, and it's not in queef jokes, and it's not in, you know, oh, you only gave me 3 dumplings in this soup, and stupid over the top jokes that go nowhere. It wasn't a slapstick subversive humor comedy thing. It was very straightforward, but that's what sold it, was the performances. Now, it will definitely continue off of Ghostbusters 2. Like I've said before, my favorite thing about Ghostbusters 2016 is that it, by default, made Ghostbusters 2 a better movie, or just it retroactively made Ghostbusters 2 a better movie. And it's one that I still hold very dear to me to this day. I love the movie. I still remember the first time I saw it in theaters, way back in the day. I was 6. I was at my grandparents' house right up the street from this one theater I loved going to. My mom got off work, didn't even tell me, picked me up, says, we're going to go see a movie. I didn't know what it was. We go sit down, we get ready to watch it, and it's fucking Ghostbusters 2. And I lost my shit, and I still love that movie. Yes, it's not as good as the first one, but it's still better than the 2016 reboot. And, you know, hey, it's going back to what Eddie was saying real quick about going into seeing it. The curiosity killed the cat, right? I mean, obviously, that's what kind of drove me to watch the movie. I had also figured at the time that I had talked so much shit about Ghostbusters in regards to the 2016 reboot that I not only owed it to myself, but to my audience to go and watch it. I talked all this crap. I had to see if it was as bad as we thought. And it was remarkably worse in just regards to the fact that it was super freaking mediocre, which is unfortunate. So there's that one. Now, this next one we got coming in here, this is about Marvel, but it's not what you might think. Check this out.
Hey there, Matt Darbo. This is Artist Stacker. I kind of found something like on accident, and it's something called it's a Marvel podcast. It's and there's like this Wolverine show, and it's been out for like over a year, and I just found it by accident, and I haven't heard anybody talk about it, so I just wondered if you'd talk about it for like 2 or 3 minutes maybe. And it's a different avenue of entertainment, I guess, but Marvel's doing it for free, and I guess there's a season 2 coming out next year, and that's all. Love the show. Take care. Bye.
So what Johnson's referring to here is Wolverine, I believe it's called The Long Night. And yeah, it's Wolverine The Long Night. And what it is it's a scripted podcast serial featuring Wolverine, and it's the very first Marvel scripted show that was produced by Marvel New Media and Stitcher. So it was on Stitcher Premium, which, if you don't know what Stitcher is, it's like an alternative iTunes or whatnot. It's actually pretty cool. All my podcasts always get featured on Stitcher as well. And this is a deal they worked out. So this is, it originally came out March 12th of this year, and it had 10 episodes in the first season. And I think each episode is about 30 minutes long, and they finished it up and they actually gave it a season 2. So I listened to the trailer for it, and I didn't necessarily care for it. Look, a bunch of my friends do audio dramas, right? They do radio dramas. And so like I've listened to their stuff, and they put a lot of work in. Not to say that this wasn't very good, but just in regards to other things that I've seen, it's kind of iffy, right? One person here on Stitcher's website 2 months ago gives it 2 reviews saying dull, but they're hoping it will get better. Another person here gives it 5 stars, citing phenomenal production, acting, and story. So, I mean, it kind of goes across the board here on what people think of it. But I think the first season is now free to listen to on Stitcher. I do need to go and check it out. I do need to give it a listen. But from what I heard, it was like, I think the voice of Wolverine, because I'm so used to either Hugh Jackman or Mark Hamill from that one X-Men. I think it was the Wolverine game from like the Xbox or whatever, or even the original voice of Wolverine from the 90s cartoon show. You know, those are the voices I recognize. This is the voice that like was different, and it just didn't necessarily connect with me in the way that I thought was solid. So unfortunately, I haven't listened to it yet, but you guys can check that out. Wolverine: The Long Night. Again, I'm pretty certain that if you look hard enough on YouTube, you could probably find all the episodes. But it does say here that it is you can go to wolverinepodcast.com to get that information. You can listen to the trailer there. In fact, I would play the trailer for you guys right now, but unfortunately, it's like 2.5 minutes long. And it just we'll have to wait and see what's going on with that one. But they are doing a second season, so if you like it, don't worry. You will absolutely positively get more. So this next one is going into television here. And it's interesting given where we are and what might happen. So this is all about the Daria reboot.
Hey, Matt. Long-time viewer, first-time caller. What do you think about this idea of a Daria reboot? Like, I've been watching it, and I like Daria, back when it was done. I'm wondering, how do you think they'll address, the whole SJW stuff? I kind of imagine Daria would be against it, but would they be able to do that? I don't know.
Okay, well, that was it cut off after that. Okay. Essentially, what the Daria, I'm not too sure if there is actually a Daria reboot. I've heard talks of it for a while. But I'm sure they're talking about it in many ways. MTV announced a reboot called Daria and Jody. And they're going to reboot the cult classic, but we don't quite know when just yet. Let me take a look here. June 21st. So a few months ago, they announced that the Daria reboot was going to be coming, and it's being written by Grace Edwards, who wrote for The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and Inside Amy Schumer. Oh, I really hope it's not season 2 of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt or the first half of season 4, which was really not very good. But here's the thing. Daria's counterculture, right? Daria is counterculture, and Daria is very much the type of person who would, in the 90s, probably make fun of social justice, would probably make fun of those types of people. Not in 2018. 2018 Daria is totally going to be your standard blue hair, like latte sipping feminist who's on Twitter from Starbucks yelling about things while taking free Wi-Fi. Like that's what it's going to be. And it's not going to be funny. It's not going to be funny at all. But then again, I never found Daria to be funny. I never found the show Daria to be funny. I always found, the concept of Daria to be ridiculous outside of the realm of Beavis and Butthead, right? I know that they took her and they made her this different character, and they removed Beavis and Butthead, and she's got a cult fan base on that, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, she's always going to be the diarrhea, cha-cha-cha, diarrhea, cha-cha-cha, like that. Like that was the show. That was what I loved. And when that gets taken away, I just never got into it. So I'll give it a watch. I'll review it, obviously, because it's going to be content, and I always need content for the channel, for $3 reviews at least. And we'll have to find out how it's going to be. But I guarantee you, it is going to be full of a whole bunch of SJW content. It's going to be full of a whole bunch of that stuff. And look, here's the deal. I'll be honest with you. If the script is good, if the story is good and the characters are good, and it's talking about issues that they view as being problematic, but it's being handled in a way that's not only entertaining, but maybe educational and funny, and it's not cramming these things down your throat, then it might actually be okay. Because you can have those kind of discussions and it would be fine. The problem is when it does what the Ghostbusters 2016 reboot does, right? It stops dead in its tracks to pull nostalgia out of its ass and cram it down your throat. That is what I don't want. When it stops dead in its tracks to hit you in the face with the fish and just yell out the word message. I don't want that. Nobody wants that, but they are probably going to do it because they feel that is where their audience is. It's like Mike Judge tried to reboot, Beavis and Butthead a couple years ago. I think they gave it like a whole season, and it wasn't the same. it was still funny. It was still funny, but it wasn't Beavis and Butthead. It wasn't the stuff from the early 90s. But then again, Mike Judge won't be involved with this. So without his voice being involved on a character he ultimately created, I'm a little bit concerned about that. But we're gonna have to wait and see. And I think the same guy that called in, oh no, I think it's a different guy called in. He asking me this question here about a movie on Netflix that you got to just hear him talk about this.
Hey Matt, how you doing? I'm just wondering, have you seen, if you have, what do you think about the Netflix movie The Package? If you haven't seen it, I think it's a good movie. It's the movie where the dude cuts his dick off. I mean, honestly, that's the only joke in the movie, but they make it work. And the reason I liked it is it was reminiscent of sort of teen comedy movies from the late 90s, early 2000s. If you think like American Pie 2, which I believe was like 99, 2000, 2001 maybe. But it actually did teen comedy well. Again, and I haven't really seen something like that since American Pie 2. So I was wondering what you thought about it. It's a movie, in my opinion, that takes one joke and runs with it and pulls it off. Not like the joke, not the penis. All right, see you later.
All right, so I hadn't heard of this movie. I had heard of this movie, but I forgot this movie existed. This is one that is a Netflix original. And here's just the brief one-sentence synopsis. When four teenage friends go on a camping trip during spring break, an unfortunate accident sets off a race against time to save one's most prized possession. It actually came out August 10th of this year, and it's sitting at about a 5.5 on IMDb, 44% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, but 85% of people who saw it liked the movie. Of course, there's always going to be the discrepancy between the critic and the viewer. I think viewers have a sense of humor. I don't think critics do much anymore, to be honest with you. The movie sounds pretty funny. It does sound reminiscent of something you might find in the late 90s or early 2000s. And to be fair, recently I've been thinking about that a lot. I've been thinking about those kind of movies like we wouldn't see in American Pie today. We just wouldn't see it. I mean, it would be lambasted as being problematic across the board. It would just be completely, all these like 3,000 think pieces would come out about American Pie and how it just showcases the fascist bro culture permeating suburbia and why there's an obsession with fucking pastries, right? You know what I mean? Like there would be all sorts of things in this movie that they would go after. But Netflix, thankfully, can actually make these kind of comedies. And I think that's where we're going to find a lot of these comedies now, because that seems to be where people want. People want this kind of dark raunch. It's one of the reasons why Netflix does really well with like Big Mouth and F is for Family. Raunchy humor is never going to go out of style. It just always moves homes. And that's kind of what I would look at this movie as. So I'm definitely going to check it out. I just don't know. I'll try to check it out and I'll review it for $3 Theater. For $3 reviews. So thank you very much for letting me know about that one here. And this last one here is interesting because it's talking about cinematic universes, especially in regards to Universal and what they attempted.
Hey Matt, my name is Josh Pendleton, and first of all I just want to say I love listening to your show, just the way you talk about like movies, the commentaries, and like a bunch of this stuff. Yeah, one thing I would like to ask you is about the recent Dark Universe. Universal Studios attempt to make a cinematic universe of monsters. Yeah, I actually enjoyed The Mummy. I know like a lot of people hated it so much. I understand why, but I think that maybe it could have been. I think maybe if they continue with the movies, maybe they can like improve on stuff like. Specifically, like, what do you think about, like, what do you think, Universal Studios should do if they can, like, revive, like, their cinema universe, Universal Monsters cinematic universe? I actually would love to see, like, more about, the Dark Universe. If I could, like, if I would like to pitch in myself, but what do you think Universal Studios should do? Thanks for letting me call you. Okay, and hope to hear from you. Right. Bye.
Thanks a lot for that one, Josh. I appreciate it. Now, that's an interesting question because we're in this age of these attempts at these cinematic universes, and 2017 was not a good year for any of that, right? You had Warner Brothers launch King Arthur, which just failed to connect. Again, I don't think an early May release for this or the June release for The Mummy helped the film. I don't believe it did. I really honestly don't feel that summer releases are going to work for everything anymore. And you can space them out to different parts of the year and still find success in a relatively dead market or a dead time. Here's the thing, if they would space out these movies a bit more, then they would actually be able to get more money. I think people would go see them more, and I think we'd get a more accurate representation of these types of films and how they do. But when they sandwich them together the way that usually happens during the summer, there's a finite amount of money that goes into the summer box office season, and it goes to usually just a handful of films, rather than being more evenly distributed, which would be fantastic. But that's just kind of where things are with that one. So anyway, The Mummy was a fun movie. But you can always tell going into The Mummy that it was meant to be like Tom Cruise action vehicle. That's what it was, right? It was always meant to be the Tom Cruise action vehicle. It was always meant to be the kickoff to a larger universe, to make it Tom Cruise's cinematic universe. Probably because he felt at the time, at least, that the Mission Impossible series was going to die. Mission Impossible, what was it? Rogue Nation had come out in 2016, or no, that came out in 2015. And, I'm pretty sure at the time it did okay. They knew they wanted to go do another one. But Tom Cruise is probably thinking, I can't do this forever. I got maybe a couple more left in me. But I need to find something else that's going to be more engaging. And the monster universe is engaging. It's very interesting. And they had built the whole thing out. Now, that was probably their problem. Their problem right off the bat was that they announced it was going to be a series. They had already cast everybody. Johnny Depp cast as the Invisible Man. Was it Javier Bardem as Frankenstein? They really, really, really already kind of cast this thing. And again, like I said, coming out in 2017, bad year, just a bad year for franchises trying to get off the ground. And they maybe made those mistakes. Now, The Bride of Frankenstein was supposed to come out, I believe January was supposed to be this year, or I'm sorry, next year, was when I think it was Bill Condon was going to be doing The Bride of Frankenstein. That's been put on hold pretty much indefinitely, which effectively says that The Mummy, that the Dark Universe franchise is on hold for the time being. Actually, I think Universal already said that. Because here's the thing, is The Mummy had a budget of about $125 million to $195 million, according to Google here. And it had a worldwide box office take-home of $409 million, right? And so it's like, okay, so it did, that's actually not bad, right? That's actually not bad at all. But looking over here on the numbers, its home video sales was pretty weak, right? Its home video sales put it at $18,326,014, right? So just even adding that on top of the worldwide box office gross, that's still just like, that's not even like, not a lot. It puts it still under $430 million. So for what they wanted to do with it, I don't think it was definitely the right call. I think they probably went a little bit too above and beyond right off the bat, because even these things have to kind of, establish a ground rule, right? They have to, these opening movies have to kind of establish the way things are. If you look at the new Fantastic Beasts movie, right? The last one and this one, the first one kind of established the rules of 1920 something, wizarding world, right? And it established the characters and established the setting and established a few things. And this new one established the Dumbledore versus Grindelwald situation, as well as kind of slowly advancing the plot, but still acting as a relative setup movie for the next 5 films. Now, the difference between this and, of course, The Mummy is this has got the history of Harry Potter, which is way more, beloved than the Mummy movies. And then again, the last movies that, it's been almost 20 years since Stephen Sommers' The Mummy came out, starring Brendan Fraser. And that movie to many people is like just pure action adventure perfection, right? Like everyone wanted like more of that. But then 10 years ago, we got The Mummy 3, and it was like, Maria Bello replacing Rachel Weisz was a bad call. They should have just written Evie out and gone from there. But still, even that wasn't that good of a movie. It could have been a lot better. It's one of those things. It's one of those things where Universal is always trying to expand upon a franchise. And the thing is, Universal is quite good at running franchises. Look at the Illumination franchise in regards to, Despicable Me. I think Despicable Me 2, The Minions, and Despicable Me 3 were all over $1 billion. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, both of those cleared $1.3 billion. The Fast and the Furious movies have been grossing $1 billion since number 7, right? So yeah, surprisingly, Fast and Furious 7 grossed $1 billion. Fast 8 or Furious 8 grossed another $1 billion. So when it comes to franchises, Universal generally knows what's up. The problem with the Dark Universe, effectively, is that they didn't have kind of an end game in sight. Like when it comes to the Fast and Furious movies, you already know the characters because they've been around for so long. So you just want to go back and see them do more shit and wonder how big and crazy it's going to get. Same thing kind of happens with Jurassic World. It was been around for 25 years before we got to see the next, the next trilogy. So there was already the established lore. There was already the established canon. People want to see it. With the Despicable Me movies, that was, built up over time. People really, really, really liked Despicable Me back in 2010. I think it's a god-awful film, but the sequel in 2013 was pretty goddamn good. The sequel in 2013 was actually pretty fucking amazing. And then, so there's that. So, I mean, they know how to establish franchises. The problem with it is these companies now are rushing into franchises. They want to establish the world without establishing the base. And I think that's a problem. So if they do go back to the drawing board on the Dark Universe, which I don't believe they're going to, I would rather them go back and scale it back, tell a good story, set up exactly what they would need these guys to do, what they would need this monster Avengers team to effectively accomplish, and then go from there. Because remember, they were gonna have Luke Evans as Dracula, because that was in 2014 when they first announced Dark Universe. They had actually shot an extra scene for the end of Dracula Untold that tied into the Dark Universe before it was officially called that. So they kind of dropped the ball right off the bat, and it's one of those things. Whatever they do is going to probably still like be better than whatever's going to happen with 20th Century Fox and all of its X-Men properties going over to Marvel. So who knows on that one? But anyway, I hope they pick it back up. I just hope they run it a little bit better. So anyway, guys, this has gone on for a bit. This is a lot of fun. I really love the conversations. It's not just movies; it is pop culture. It's a lot of different things: podcasts, television shows, things along those lines. So listen, if you guys do want to call in, and you can anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the line is always open. You can call 818-350-3281. That's 818-350-3281. And feel free to just give a call and just see what's up and ask your question. And like I said, if I can get a lot of these coming in, we could do this a couple times a week. We could do this every single day. It'd be fantastic. Because to me, this is a lot of fun. To me, this is the direct interaction with you guys. And I think that's going to be, just a grand old time. So anyway, if you guys have any comments or questions, please leave them in the chat box below. Please thumbs up the video if you want. Subscribe if you're new. And definitely consider calling in. Like, once again, 818-350-3281. All right, guys. My name is Matt Jarbo. I will talk to you all later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.